Hey, I'm Jonas. In this video, I will teach you where and how to farm KILOS armor. I will also teach you how to enhance KILOS armor up to +20, how many materials and gold are needed, and how long to farm the materials to enhance KILOS armor up to +20. I will also show you how to evolve from Tier 1 to Tier 2 KILOS armor. Now, without further ado, let's start. Starting with the first question, how to get KILOS armor. KILOS armors can be crafted through the Blacksmith NPC craft item option. Under the Equipment tab, you will see the Legend Equipment Set crafting list, and in there, you will see the KILOS armor crafting list. Now, we will need to farm 2 essential materials to craft these armors. The first material is KILOS armor fragments, and the second is Thread of Intellect. Important note, each KILOS armor has its own fragments corresponding to each part of the KILOS armor, and these are Life KILOS helmet, Eastern KILOS upper body, Dawn KILOS lower body, Jungle KILOS gloves, and Abyss KILOS shoe fragments. Now, for the next question, how to get or farm for these materials. To farm for these materials, I highly suggest that you do Lucky Zone dungeon stages. There are 4 main KILOS materials that you can get when you've cleared a Lucky Zone stage, and those items are KILOS armor fragments, Joys and Sorrows of KILOS, Thread of Intellect, and high-grade Joys and Sorrows of KILOS. Joys and Sorrow of KILOS, Thread of Intellect, and high-grade Joys and Sorrows of KILOS drops on all dungeon stages regardless of the region of the dungeon you've cleared. While KILOS armor fragments drops on a specific dungeon stage entrance region. Life KILOS helmet fragments drops on all of the dungeon stages of a new Arendelle. Eastern KILOS upper body fragments drops on all of the dungeon stages of Radams and Streets of Red Lotus Palace. Dawn KILOS lower body fragments drops on all of the dungeon stages of Merka's Heart and Merka's Port. Jungle KILOS gloves fragments drops on all of the dungeon stages of Riverwort Wharf. Abyss KILOS shoe fragments drops on all of the dungeon stages of Hairmalt Port and Foothills of the Black Mountain. Okay, you might ask that, how do I find and do Lucky Zone? If you're a new player, I highly suggest that you watch my Lucky Zone guides and explanation videos to learn more about Lucky Zone. But for this video, I will show you a short guide on how to do Lucky Zone, so that you can understand easily what I'm trying to explain. Okay, first, let's answer the question, how to find and do Lucky Zone. First, press the left control button on your keyboard to toggle your mouse cursor. Next, hover your cursor on the party popper icon in the upper right corner of the screen. As you can see, there are 3 dungeon names featured as a Lucky Zone stage. Important note, the dungeons listed as Lucky Zone stage changes every week. It changes every Saturday at 9 AM GMT +8. If you want to know the scheduled Lucky Zone dungeon ahead of time, I will show you the Lucky Zone dungeon cycle for each week. By the time this video was recorded, this was the scheduled dungeons featured as Lucky Zone stage. Important note, as you can see, some of the names of the dungeons listed in the upper right corner of the screen are different from the table I'm showing you. So I highly advise you to take a screenshot of this Lucky Zone schedule table, because some of the dungeon names listed in the Lucky Zone icon are wrong or different. I'm currently farming for Life KILOS helmet fragment. Luckily, Passage of Broken Recollections is located in a new Arendelle, and as I've shown you before, Life KILOS helmet fragments drops on all of the dungeon stages of a new Arendelle. A new Arendelle portal is located in the St. Haven East Gate. Upon arriving at a new Arendelle, press M to open the map, and hover your mouse over each portal to find the dungeon you're looking for. Once you find the right portal of the dungeon, I highly suggest that you do Lucky Zone at Labyrinth 11 if you're a new player. Important note, you have a maximum of 6,000 fatigue points or FTG daily, and upon entering a dungeon you will consume 1500 FTG, so therefore, you can do 4 Lucky Zone runs daily. Upon entering the dungeon featured as a Lucky Zone stage, you will see the Lucky Zone banner prompt, stating that you're in the right dungeon. After you've cleared the Lucky Zone dungeon, you will get these KILOS materials upon killing the boss and opening the special reward chest. This is the gold and KILOS material drop table for each Lucky Zone labyrinth difficulty. Important note, there's a low probability of getting a jackpot drop multiplier for each item dropped upon clearing a Lucky Zone stage. For example, in Labyrinth 11, the normal drop amount of KILOS armor fragment is 22 pieces, but if you're lucky enough, you might get triple of that amount, and the same also applies to other KILOS materials. Okay, now that you know how to farm Kilos materials in Lucky Zone, the next question is, how many materials in gold do I need to get a full set of plus 0 kilos armor? You will need to get at least 10 pieces of Kilos armor fragments for each part, 500 threads of intellect, and 500 gold. Since I already farmed some Kilos materials in gold, I will now craft my own Kilos armors. Talk to a blacksmith NPC, then select the craft item, go to the equipment tab, and in there, you will see the Kilos crafting page. Okay, now that I have a full set of Kilos armors, the next step is to enhance it to plus 20. Enhancing Kilos armors requires 3 materials, which are Kilos armor fragments, joys and sorrows of Kilos, and thread of intellect. And don't also forget the gold enhancement fee. Okay, now the next question is, how long does it take to get or enhance a Kilos armor to plus 20? First, let's answer the question, how many materials in gold is needed to enhance a Kilos armor to plus 20? For 1 Kilos armor part, you will need a total of 25,400 gold for the enhancement fee, 4,770 Kilos armor fragments, 1,236 joys and sorrows of Kilos, and 7,200 thread of intellect. Remember that there are 5 Kilos armor, so in total, you will need 127,000 gold for the enhancement fee, 4,770 Kilos armor fragments for each Kilos armor part for a total of 23,850 Kilos armor fragments, 6,180 joys and sorrows of Kilos, and 36,000 thread of intellect. Okay, now that you know how many materials are needed to enhance a Kilos armor to plus 20. The next question is, how long does it take to farm for these materials in gold? I will show you again the drop table of Kilos materials in gold for each Lucky Zone Labyrinth difficulty, and I need you to focus on the Labyrinth 11 normal amount drop rate. Based on Labyrinth 11 normal drop rate, you will get the same amount of Kilos materials upon killing the boss stage and opening the special reward chest. For example, after you've killed the boss at Labyrinth 11 difficulty, the normal drop rate amount is 22 Kilos armor fragment, 5 joys and sorrows of Kilos, and 40 thread of intellect. And the same goes for the special reward chest drop. Important note, gold is only dropped upon opening the special reward chest. So, therefore, if we add the Labyrinth 11 boss drop and special reward chest drop amount, you will get a total of 44 Kilos armor fragments, 10 joys and sorrows of Kilos, and 80 thread of intellect, plus the 220 gold drop from just one run of Lucky Zone. Based on each labyrinth difficulty and normal drop rate amount, I've created a table on how many days or weeks it will take to farm these gold and materials. Important note, you have a maximum of 6,000 fatigue points or FTG daily, and upon entering a dungeon you will consume 1,500 FTG, so you can do 4 Lucky Zone runs daily. You might ask that, how can I have or get FTG again? Your FTG will be replenished by 6,000 FTG every day at 9 AM GMT plus 8. Since I've suggested that you do Lucky Zone at Labyrinth 11, it will take 27 days to farm 4,770 Kilos armor fragments. For the joys and sorrows of Kilos, it will take you 31 days to farm 1,236 pieces. For the thread of intellect, it will take you 23 days to farm 7,200 pieces, and for the gold, it will take 28 days to farm 25,400 gold. You might ask that, I don't want to go through the hassle of farming. Is there a shortcut? The answer is yes. You can directly get a plus 20 Kilos armor by buying a plus 20 Kilos equipment selection box in the trading house. By the time this video was recorded, the average price of plus 20 Kilos equipment selection box in the trading house ranges from 70,000 gold up to 80,000 gold and above. You can also get a plus 20 Kilos equipment selection box by doing Lucky Zone dungeons at Labyrinth 15 or above. The drop rate chance of plus 20 Kilos equipment selection box is 0.2%. Remember that it can only be dropped on the special reward chest at Labyrinth 15 or above difficulty. If you got a plus 20 Kilos equipment selection box, you could select one out of the 5 plus 20 Kilos armor parts in the selection. In my case, I've already farmed the required amount of gold and Kilos materials, and I will now enhance my Kilos armors to plus 20. Important note, the enhancement success rate when enhancing Kilos armor is set to 100% for all enhancement levels. Which means, enhancing Kilos armors will not fail. For the KILOS shoes, I will purchase a plus 20 KILOS equipment selection box in the trading house and directly get a plus 20 KILOS shoes.
Is there anything you need?
Okay, now that I'm done enhancing all of my KILOS armors to plus 20, the next step is to evolve it to Tier 2 KILOS armor. To evolve Tier 1 KILOS armor to Tier 2, first, you will need to enhance Tier 1 KILOS armor to plus 20. Next, you will need to craft an item called Needle of Intellect. Under the KILOS crafting page, you will see the Needle of Intellect crafting details. To craft one Needle of Intellect, you will need 300 joys and sorrows of KILOS, 2,600 threads of intellect, and 5,000 gold crafting fee. You can also buy a Needle of Intellect box directly in the trading house. By the time this video was recorded, the price of Needle of Intellect box ranges from 27,000 gold up to 30,000 gold. Just like the plus 20 KILOS equipment selection box, the Needle of Intellect box can also be dropped on Lucky Zone at Labyrinth 15 or above difficulty. There are 5 KILOS armor, so I need 5 Needles of Intellect to evolve it to Tier 2. Remember that you'll need to enhance a Tier 1 KILOS armor to plus 20, before you can use the Needle of Intellect to evolve it to Tier 2. In my case, I have enough materials to craft 5 Needles of Intellect. To craft 5 Needles of Intellect you will need 1,500 joys and sorrows of KILOS, 13,000 threads of intellect, and 25,000 gold crafting fee.
Plenty of good stuff here.
Okay, now that I have 5 Needles of Intellect, I will use it to evolve all of my plus 20 Tier 1 KILOS armors to Tier 2. Okay, now that I'm done evolving all of my KILOS armors to Tier 2, you might ask that, what is the significance of evolving KILOS armors to Tier 2? The first benefit of evolving KILOS armors to Tier 2 is the 5-part set effect skill bonus. When the enemy's HP is 50% or higher, additional damage proportional to HP will be dealt with each successful attack. And when the enemy's HP is 1% more than 50%, 2% additional damage will be dealt with each hit. The second benefit of evolving KILOS armors to Tier 2 is the additional 5% physical and magical attack stats, plus the additional defense and magical defense stats. Now that I have Tier 2 KILOS armors, the next step is to enhance it to plus 20. Enhancing Tier 2 KILOS armors requires 3 materials, which are KILOS armor fragments, high-grade joys and sorrows of KILOS, and Thread of Intellect. And don't also forget the gold enhancement fee. As you can see, the required materials for enhancing Tier 2 KILOS armor are just the same as Tier 1 KILOS armor, but this time, instead of joys and sorrows of KILOS, we will need to get high-grade joys and sorrows of KILOS. High-grade joys and sorrows of KILOS are only dropped at Labyrinth 15 or above difficulty. This is the drop table for the high-grade joys and sorrows of KILOS for each Labyrinth difficulty. There's also a low probability of a jackpot amount drop, upon clearing a Labyrinth 15 or above Lucky Zone stage. To fully enhance a Tier 2 KILOS armor to plus 20, you will need a total of 55,800 gold for the enhancement fee, 11,900 KILOS armor fragments, 988 high-grade joys and sorrows of KILOS, and 19,800 thread of intellect. Based on the normal drop rate amount, this is the total amount of days or weeks it will take to farm the required amount to enhance Tier 2 KILOS to plus 20 for every Labyrinth difficulty. Before you go, please leave a like and share it with your friends, and consider subscribing to the channel for more videos like this. That's all for this video, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the comment section below.